taking charge of his life and becoming unstoppable no matter what kind of background you come from. You do not worship Ambedkar, but you emulate his life.
Will uniform civil code be a possibility in India? I think at least after 1 or 2 generations of utilizing the caste-based reservation in education and jobs, the 3rd generation should not be given reservation.
We are talking about unity on one hand, on the other, we have reservation in terms of admissions in colleges and job opportunities. So, isn't it that it is bringing diversity in our thoughts? Because unity of mind is the greatest necessity of the time. So, what measures can we have to remove it?
Well, these are two different things. It's a two-in-one question. Uniform civil code, is it a possibility? Well, we must make it possible. As long as you have a nation where different people have different rules, you will keep people different. If you want to make all of them Indians, there must be one law in the country. There is no other way you can integrate a nation. One law for you, one law for me. Definitely we will be two separate people. We will never identify ourselves as one nation. So we are continuously facing this problem, but we don't have the courage to fix it. It's time to fix it. Reservation is another matter. I know there is a lot of resentment among the young students. I didn't get the seat, somebody with lesser marks got the seat, all these things. But we must understand this, we have treated a whole mass of people in this country for thousands of years like subhumans. Even today, if you go into the villages, they cannot draw water from the same well, they cannot drink tea from the same cup in a restaurant, it's separate. They cannot walk through certain streets, they cannot walk in front of a temple, their dead bodies cannot go through the village. When you treat people like this, if you don't give them some privileges to get back to level playing field, it will not be fair. But at the same time, entry point reservation should be there, promotion point definitely has to go. Both in employment and in education, you give them entry, but do not promote them without the necessary credentials. This has to happen, otherwise we will sacrifice competence for reservation. Reservation is an unfortunate situation in the country because we have created 1,000 years of unfortunate discrimination. To level the discrimination, this effort, have we succeeded in this in the last 70 years? Well, a lot of people have moved out of that trap, caste trap, but still there is substantial amount of population still stuck there. So, as time goes by, we must calibrate the reservation. For different regions, it may be different. How it is in Tamil Nadu, how it is in Bihar, how it is in Gujarat, it's different. We must have the courage to calibrate it. Every 5 years at least, we must recalibrate the reservation based on the statistics, how much the movement of population has happened from poverty to reasonable level of well-being, and to what extent discrimination is leveled. Accordingly, reservation should be calibrated, but it's a political thing. No political leader wants to touch it because election is a number game. It's just like going to an examination.
We are talking about unity on one hand, and on the other, we have reservation in terms of admissions in colleges and job opportunities. So, isn't it that it is bringing diversity in our thoughts? Because unity of mind is the greatest necessity of the time, and this is bringing the diversity in our thoughts. So, what measures can we have to remove it?
This whole reservation policy, when it was envisioned, it was to be for a short period of time to correct a certain ill which had taken place, a certain injustice which had happened for thousands of years. A certain injustice which had occurred for thousands of years, to fix that, we thought for a certain period of time, we will give a certain segment of people an extra advantage so that they can come level with the rest of the society. But unfortunately, we have not been able to fulfill this vision. Even today, in villages across the country, if you belong to a certain caste or creed, you cannot even enter a tea shop and have a tea. You're not supposed to walk through certain streets. Everything is separate, it's a segregated society even today. If we do not change this, and change this very soon, and the only way to change it is to educate and skill India. If you do not skill India, you will kill it. So this has to happen at the earliest possible time, because any kind of reservation, if it lasts for too long, it'll become a discriminatory process, which is what you're talking about. So, this onerous responsibility is there that the discriminatory process that is being even today practiced in the villages of India has to go. Youth have a role to play. We have done many things in this direction, but still it has not been solved. It is a huge problem. When such a big problem is there, taking away that little advantage they have, it needs to be reviewed every few years, whether it is necessary in a certain area or not. But such right-thinking policies are not possible. These things are all happening on electoral basis. Whether we will win the election with this policy or not, that has been the only goal. So, it is very important that it is addressed properly. This is one thing that you can do.
Equality may not happen per se, but equal opportunity must happen. Unfortunately, that's still yet to be achieved. Though by law, all of us have equal opportunity, socially, we still don't have equal opportunity. Variety of people are in many ways eliminated from this opportunity or not available for this opportunity to reach them. For that to happen, it's most important that… See, spiritual process means just this, that your identity is not with your body. Once your identity is not with your body, it's not about parentage anymore, it's not about pedigree. The privileges of pedigree must go. Only then there will be a social democracy. In a country like India, whatever laws you make, particularly concerned with having certain privileges, misuse will be there. We have to weigh between use and misuse. A community which for millennia, not for short periods of time, for millennia has been discriminated against, that it is strongly believed their very birth is of a low nature. If you don't bring them up with some privileges so that they come level someday, it would be very unfair. Just because today somebody is getting some reservation and you think it is not fair because you didn't get into your college or whatever, I understand the angst that is there. We need to understand that's because of we have too much population for whatever infrastructure or education or the facilities we try to create. But reservation in many ways, as I have seen, particularly in the south, maybe it's not been very well used in the north, but in the south, a whole generation of people from those communities, Dalit community, have gotten well educated, gotten well placed mainly because of reservation. Now resentment will come on various levels. So this is a little adjustment with reservations may have to be done as time goes by. See, for example, you can give admission to somebody, but you can't pass him because he belongs to a certain caste, then you're bringing down the competence levels in the country. They must be given opportunity and they must be given extra coaching to make up for whatever loss they've had due to lack of proper schooling. But we should not compromise on competence. And similarly for jobs, they must have reservations so that they can enter the job situation, but promotions must come only with competence. This adjustment needs to happen, but as we said, in a democratic process, there is always… after all, an election has to be won. Nobody dares ever to talk about any change, whether positive or negative, which concerns, because anything that concerns a particular community becomes a volatile election winning or losing kind of thing. I strongly feel that reservations, in the present level of development, where the Dalits are in this country, they still need it. But if a distinction is made between urban Dalits and rural Dalits, because the maximum discrimination and disadvantage happens in rural India, they must be given far more advantage than those who are already living in urban societies. It can also be made like this: first generation, to get out of that social pit that unfortunately has been dug for them, they must be given reservation. Second generation, it must drop a little bit, third generation should be out of it. But for rural Dalits, it is very, very essential. There is no way out of that right now, because the discrimination is so cruel.